Fox Valley Voice.
Hi, this is Paul Lencioni from Blue Goose Market in St. Charles, and you are listening to the Fox Valley Voice.
Thank you, Paul. We will be chatting with him in just a minute. My name is Jaime Gutierrez, and you are listening to the Fox Valley Voice. Before we get to my conversation with Paul Lencioni, and not to make this episode about me, but I feel like I do need to explain a little bit about what's going on with this episode. The sad fact of the matter is that I recorded this conversation with Paul in April of 2018. So that is well over a year ago. And, like many people, I have a lot of stuff going on. Everyday, regular life, work, and family, and all that kind of stuff. So, the episodes of my podcast, Fox Valley Voice, have been very few and far between, and I have let a very heavy sense of inertia kind of keep me from getting back to doing more episodes. All of that changed last week when I saw in the newspaper and then on social media reports that Paul has indicated that Blue Goose Market in St. Charles is in trouble and they need help from the community. And that's when I knew that I had to hurry up and put this together and get it out in support of Paul and Blue Goose. So, my conversation with Paul Lencioni, recorded in April of 2018, but very relevant right now. So, give a listen. We started off by talking about soccer.
You're still playing soccer.
Because that is how Paul and I first met.
Yep, right. Yeah. Absolutely. Maybe 10, 12 years ago.
It was a long time ago.
Yeah.
And after a few minutes of talking about the real football,
Indoor.
we began
That's how
our
I got
conversation
back
in
into playing
earnest.
soccer. You started out in St. Charles yourself. You grew up there.
Mm-hmm.
You said you moved to Batavia.
Yeah, I moved to Batavia and lived there for the 2 years that I went to school. And then really quickly after graduating from Batavia High School, BHS 93, baby, I took off. I just wanted to see the world. at 18, you got so much to figure out. And I wanted to get busy. So I went and lived for an extended summer with my aunt and uncle and my two cousins. I've got two twin cousins who are a little younger than me, who are brothers, and they're amazing. So stayed with them. They were just getting into high school at that point, and they're like little brothers.
And where was that?
It is in San Ramon, California.
Ooh.
So
I don't know where that is.
It is
part?
Bay Area. So it's So go straight west from the San Francisco Bay, and then moved to Vail, Colorado, and worked a winter. So, get up early, serve, host in a breakfast cafe, and then go and ski and snowboard for the rest of the day. And that was amazing experience. That was what really, it was kind of what ignited my fire to see what I could do. Just really like getting your bearings right, taking a look at, what is it going to take? What do you want to do? Because you're in high school and everybody's telling you what to do and telling you how to think. And especially growing up in St. Charles, where like the Blue Goose, the brand, the whole thing, it's everywhere. And you're really like, it cuts both ways, where you need some space to make some of your own decisions and say, what do I want? What's it like, when everybody doesn't know who you are? Because that's one of the things that comes with the Blue Goose. It's a funny thing that I talk about, because it's such it's an important establishment. It's an important concept in St. Charles that
It's a linchpin of the community, is what it is.
It is. It is a lot. That's a great. It serves so many different functions in St. Charles, and that's one of the things in coming back as the fourth generation to, own and run the Blue Goose is helping people understand. Yeah, the brand is, it's people say, well, high quality, upscale. I hate that. I hate that so much. It's great food, but I have a different take on that. I'm the fourth person to run the store, and the concept is the same. It's great food, but how does it look? How does it smell? It's kind of funny. I've got this idea, this business idea that I developed. I started my career. So after doing all that, went to school in Colorado for a couple of years, then came back and got my accounting degree at NIU. As I kind of, I started to really embrace my family's traditions. I was like, it's very cool to put your effort out there and work in a community that you're so connected with. That idea, because I've always had this really hearty kind of zest for life. I at no point did I ever just want to find my spot where I fit and just, fit in and do that thing. I wanted to make a difference. I wanted to do as much as possible to help improve people, connect with my neighbors, and just be a part of something bigger than me. So, got out of school, I'm an accountant. My degree's in accounting. Started working at Arthur Andersen, and I was actually there when it stopped doing accounting.
Yeah, that was kind of unfortunate.
It was insane from the inside. It was insane. It's the
was
largest.
That part of the Enron implosion, or was that something else?
No, it was absolutely, it was Enron. But there were, inside story. It's boring accounting stuff, but the business world has been changing. Computers, information technology, the way that people connect, it all changes everything. And an audit, because I was auditing, is it's a funny beast. And they were trying to figure out, you literally used to do an audit and look for eraser marks. And you didn't with multinational corporations, you couldn't send business information back and forth between units as easily as you can now. And so it's so big and it's so possible to do complicated things that, that was right in that period where the world is trying to figure out, okay, how do I do a competent audit? And it's still a pretty good question, but I don't want to talk about audit other than the fact that it was really, really good business experience. Mm-hmm. And what happens when you're a first year? You get sent to do all of the physical inventory counts.
Yeah.
So they ship you around like on the 30th and the 31st of December all over the country. So I got sent by, I'm trying to remember. It was somebody out of the New York office, I think it was. Really cool. I don't remember her name or anything else, but so I'm in Chicago and I get farmed down there to El Paso, and I go and I'm counting nuts and bolts in this big reseller of nuts and bolts and connective parts. It's crazy. So I'm counting around, and it's not exactly perfect, but it's not exactly bad. And I'm trying to figure out what to do about some of the inconsistencies. And I get on the phone with the senior running it, and I'm like, this is that. Should I skip my flight and expand the count? And she says to me, how does it smell? And I, like, as an accountant, that blows your mind. Debits on the left, credits on the right. It's all a science. And she asked me, how does it smell? And I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, stop it. How does it smell? I was like, it smells good. They're good guys. Nothing's wrong. She's like, get on the plane. But that's an idea that I've kept with me forever because, that's kind of my concept
like
of
a gut feel, or is it?
Yeah, no, yes. It's just that human connection kind of idea. Are these people screwing things up? Like, no, they're not perfect, but they're good guys and they're hustling, and these parts are tiny, and we're counting $50 million of inventory. They're good guys and it's fine. I'm sure that there's a couple here's and there's, but it's the idea of, that intangible quantity. Yeah. We like to pretend that everything is
black and white,
quantifiable. But the truth is you got to be able to look underneath that. What are you doing? Why are you doing it? Because if you're doing things for the right reasons, you're going to end up in decent spots. Mm-hmm. And you know what? It never smells bad. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yes.
I love that concept. That's pretty, it's probably the best way to kind of define the mode of how I think about business, because being an accountant, I've done a lot of really technical things. I stayed in accounting. This is my second time back at the Blue Goose. I came back after I thought I was going to go to law school. I was working at huge law firm, Winston & Strawn, and I left there to come back the first time. And then I left. Family was in an interesting spot, and it just didn't make sense for me to stay at the time. So I left and I got back into, instead of going back into accounting, I stayed in the industry. I'm, just really connected with the idea of selling things to people. I like that. I like the handshake nature of the business. I like, the concept of just taking care of people. So I stayed in the industry and promoted, and I ended up as actually a vice president in sales. But it's kind of nice. So you've got the incredibly technical side. So, I'm running strategy for about $1.5 billion of sales. And okay, how is this going to work? How does it work in the logistics chains? How does communication plan work? How do we, how does compensation tie into it? What are the efficiencies of, the SKUs, stock keeping units, technical stuff, and putting that together. But past that, teaching people, be hungry, understand what you're doing. You're working with business owners to help their dreams come true, to help them accomplish their goals, understand what their goals are. Don't walk in trying to tell them how great you are. Walk in, figure out what makes them so great, and then help them achieve their goals. Mm-hmm. Like literally fall in love with that person. And until you can really identify with, their human concept of trying to do better things for their families, for their customers, and until you can find a way to relate to their struggles, you're going to have a tough time really proving yourself. So, take one side of, how technically do you meet somebody and sell to them, to stop. That's not where it starts. And that's that how does it smell kind of thing. Yeah. That's why I love what I do, because that's such a big part of it. Create cool things that are good, create just a ton of value, and then figure out how to communicate it to people in the right way. Figure out, put a little bit more value here. You know what? People aren't really seeing this, but at the end of that, selling on a handshake, selling on trust, selling on your name. I guess you can say that family business, but that concept of like, we're not upscale. I'm not trying to impress you. I'm trying to bring cool things to your life. Like if you watch me meeting new customers or somebody who's asking about something that I just got brought in, literally like I look like such a kid. People are surprised. They're like, "You're the CEO." I was like, yeah. I'm very technical in other parts of my life, but you're like, let me tell you how I got this. Let me tell you what you're looking at. Like the cheese. I redid the cheese section like 2 years ago, and I did it all myself. And I'm like, trying to explain to my staff. I was like, if you don't understand, what's cool about this cheese? You got a single pasture, Swiss cheese made with an 800-year-old formula of rotating, how the rennet is made, how they're washing the rind, how they're aging it. If you don't know any of that, man, this is competing against craft. But if you understand why you get that beautiful softness and that really mellow nuttiness, if you don't get that, then you can't help somebody understand what this is, because yes, it's cheese, it's great, meal, but it's also a cultural expression. It's a trip to another place and a time. It's the ability to help understand a different culture. And at that point, and if you've got something that's truly worthy, that's amazing. And that's I believe that in our lives we need more of that. We need more purpose. We don't need less purpose. We need to be grounded more. We need to be, we need more things that, create stickiness in our lives so we can stick together. So That's my thing.
I'm really hungry for cheese right now.
I should have brought snacks. I always bring snacks.
It's all right. Man, I hope the folks working in your store have just a tiny fraction of the passion that you have for this stuff.
No, they do. I've got good people.
And that, and at some point I'm going to ask you a little bit more about the store, but that is the difference, I think. I don't think that there are too many stores around here where you're going to get that kind of knowledge and passion about what you're selling. I think most places nowadays, it's just like logistics, right? Like, how do we get this stuff in? How do we get this stuff out?
It's exactly right. It's how do you minimize people? And that's such a travesty. How do you minimize people? And I'm not thinking about how do you maximize people? How do you bring more value? Yeah, cost. I've got a GM who is world-class guy. This isn't my first rodeo. I came back knowing some next level tricks. but it's still, how do you maximize what you get out of these? And yeah, I want to give you the absolute most for the lowest dollar, but I'm never going to cut the experience. You know, I'm not going to tell you that something's great when it's mediocre. You wouldn't in wine, something that I'm also incredibly connected to. When I was with the Blue Goose the first time, we'd never had wine before, so somebody's got to figure out. They're like, Paul, you're doing it, and I just read everything and tasted everything, and I hadn't really had any experience or connection with wine before that. I'll tell you, wine is another thing that grabs my heart. It's so much fun, but there are a lot of like wines that sell really well that we don't sell because they're not worth it. You can find so many small producers that are making killer juice, great stuff at a great price. You're not going to see the brand. There's a brand that people recognize. You're like, I'm not going to do it. You might connect with it. It might be easy, but I think I've got something that I can sell you that's way better. Yeah. You might not know it as well. But that's the difference.
It sounds like you're trying to stay away from commodity items. Is that fair to say? Or?
Nah, I wouldn't. I mean, if I find great commodities, I can, Matt and I will focus on it. We can find a way to buy it right. But I just good stuff. Like, I mean, fingerprints on everything, intention, accountability. It's master strokes is the best way to think about it. I'm trying to put together a work of art, which is, how can I get you the best stuff, considering that, I'm not going over the top. Like, trust me, ask me, I'll go over the top. That's a place I'll go. But, shopping is a chore. It needs to be easy. You need to be able to get what you need. I got eggs that are, under $1.10 most days, and they're really good eggs from local co-op. But knowing how to go and find these people and source them right, I get a great price on them. A lot of people think you're one store, you can't compete with the big guys. You're like, are you kidding me? Actually, as one store, you can get pretty sneaky because, and I try and explain it. It's like negotiating. Like if you're sitting here, arguing with whether your kid, you're going to give them $20 or $25, you're like, here you go. But you pay a lot of attention when you're buying a house. As one store, I can out negotiate somebody and they don't get hurt. You cannot get beat by a chain because it will put a big dent in you. So if you know what you're doing and you know kind of how they're thinking about, the distributors and the manufacturers, how they're thinking about brand share and distribution and, marketing dollars and all of that, especially with a lot of the people that I met in the industry. So I don't have one store relationships. I've got large relationships, but I can always find a way to get good pricing.
That's interesting. So something that the average person would perceive as a deficit or the fact that you're one store,
right?
You have actually figured out a way to turn it into a benefit,
right? And it's funny because, people don't even question it. Like, well, obviously you can't buy with the big guys. You're like, oh, you're not right, because one of the best conversations that I have with people who smaller producers, who a lot of times I can help them out, get them connected into good logistics and supply side and make a call for them if they got great product. I'll let people know, and it's the case. It's like you can spend promotional dollars in Blue Goose and you will get so much more out of that than going to, and I'm not going to name anybody, the chain. I was like, listen, if you promote in my store, you're gonna increase your sales over there. If you promote over there, there's a chance you don't even promote over there because nobody's forming buying habits. They're getting in and out. They don't expect anything. They don't expect somebody to care about them. They don't expect that somebody's thought about it. So if you really want to gain like mind share in your market, it's Blue Goose because I love these people. I'm connected with them and your product really is that good. So help me help you make a market. Let's sell some stuff together. And usually brands are really into that. Like there are brands like Illy Coffee. There are only 2 Illy Coffee coffee bars in the Midwest, NBC Tower and the Blue Goose.
Wow.
Illy Coffee is amazing. It's like the 15th generation privately held killer coffee company in
And where are they at?
Italy.
Yeah.
Yes, they're Italian. They invented the espresso machine. I mean, these guys literally are coffee.
They know what they're doing.
Oh, their stuff is so good, and it's a killer blend. They actually sent, when they started off, they sent a guy who was top 50 baristas in the world. He came to St. Charles and did a coffee demo, and we sat there, and he taught me how to taste the Colombian, Guatemalan, and Ethiopian. And it's and after with a bit of a wine palate, you're starting to pick up these flavor profiles in the coffee. It was just cool. I mean, it was a great education, but that's because of how we do business, and people they see that we can connect with our passion. They want to be a part of what we're doing. You find a lot of people with great brands, and great brands come from passion and people, and we're all kind of cut from the same cloth. Mm-hmm. So that's one of the things that makes it really easy to form partnerships with cool people and have access to some of these things that as just you're just trying to make it, single store, you wouldn't see.
Yeah. So what I'm getting from you is that you are really thriving on establishing relationships with both sides, with your customers and with your vendors.
Yeah. Yeah. That's it. That's the entire idea. It's people, it always starts, with people and adding value, making an argument to add value to distributors. And that's, so when I say we do a good job negotiating, it isn't that, we're talking to people who supply and we're getting a great end of the deal and we're putting them in a bad spot. We're offering them value too, and they see it and they agree. And so a lot of the value that we offer, we can take a discounted price because we're adding value in creating brand relationships, connection. So we don't have to, but if we just, placed an order and didn't care, that wouldn't be there. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's all people. It's people and concept and just big life, man. Just do as much cool as you can.
All right. So you've already mentioned the top three of my favorites. You got cheese, wine, and coffee.
Yeah.
Let me back up a little bit and ask you, if you were to, if I said, Paul, bring over some wine and cheese on your way here. So give me your selection right now, today. What would be your choice for your top wine and your top cheese at Blue Goose?
Right now, there's a single vineyard clinker brick that is absolutely magnificent. Really graceful, yet well structured, elegant, but really incredibly well balanced. It's got everything you're looking for. That being said, it's I usually think of jam bombs coming out of it's old vine, Lodi, but clinker brick is making a great zin. I wish I could think of the name of the single vineyard. It's a female name, but I would bring you a bottle of the clinker brick. Mm-hmm. Amazing. And there is
what's
cheese.
That running, if I could ask?
It's $32.
32. Okay.
So, or if we were just they're like Tortoise Creek makes a killer $11.99 Pinot Noir that is legit and it is light and pretty. I mean, what are you looking for from California Pinot Noir? It's going to be lighter. It's going to be more round. It's going to be approachable. It's going to be a lot more berry instead of your Willamette Valley, dried cherries, rustic, beautiful. Why didn't I bring wine? I am screwed up. And then on cheese, there's a California dried jack cheese, and you don't usually age jack cheeses, but it's beautiful. It's so nutty. The mouthfeel is awesome. It is a little bit more expensive. A sit down and carve it up chunk that's not huge, but it's enough is going to be like $7. There's this Swiss cheese, like a real Swiss cheese. Most people, you've never tasted Swiss cheese. It's processed, but it's called Holy Cow. And it is so beautiful, balanced, nutty, great. It's absolutely amazing. I'm a freak for the stuff. Prairie Breeze makes a killer aged cheddar. Yeah, there's
I'm sure you could go on and on, right?
Yeah.
Fabulous. All right, so go out and get yourself a bottle of wine and some cheese.
But today, when you're talking about that, the best thing, and I tell people the best thing in the store is the ground beef, and people kind of look at me sideways. They're like, "What are you talking about?" We cut. First of all, we start with A+ quality beef, but we cut so much strip fillet and ribeye, and we're cutting everything in house that our trim, like probably 50% of the trim that goes into your ground beef is strip, filet, ribeye, then another 25 that's sirloin, and it's done fresh right there. And it's so good. People will tell me, they're like, God, my new grill is amazing. You're like, well, it's the burger. Trust me. I'm not trying to feel bad, but go get a Jewel burger. Oh, I said one. I didn't mean to do that. I meant El Jahara. The other guy's burgers, and cook it, and you'll not like your grill quite so much. Our burgers are so good. It's unbelievable. Okay. When I go to like something where I'm going to demo, like if I got a chip on my shoulder, I will literally bring ground beef and I will cook it, salt, pepper. And they're like, what are you doing? Ground beef. I was like, this is the best ground beef you've ever eaten. They're like, what are you kidding? It's just ground beef. I'm like, okay, maybe, go ahead. And they're like, oh my gosh. I was like, that's right. It's great. And I'm not saying, it's what it's supposed to taste like. Mm-hmm. When you eat something that's really good or drink a great glass of wine and it's just better than you expected, it is purely good. It's a very connective, emotional experience. We connect all of our holidays are food, our connections with friends. Come over, let's grill out. I mean, I don't know about you, but when I met my wife, how'd I get her to spend time? I was like, let me take you to dinner. It's always food. You don't want to buy bad food. You don't want to, fuel your kids with bad food. Now, I don't think that you should overpay for food, and I don't believe that we are expensive. But you gotta buy good food.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're probably where you need to be as far as price. Mm-hmm. But I suppose part of the problem is when people compare. Right. Mm-hmm. And they say, well, these guys have it for $2 a pound and you guys are $4.50 or whatever. And, that's what they see.
Right. And you have to educate, you have to educate people on why it's different. We're down on the Chicago produce market down at 55 and Martin Luther King, 6 days a week, 2 a.m. in the morning. So down there, you've got, 20 warehouses right next to 1 million square feet of brokerage space at Murano. And we're down there walking it 6 days a week. So you have maybe 16 sources of tomatoes. And each of those places, so you'll have tomatoes coming out of, Mexico, tomatoes coming out of California. You'll have lots from all over the place, and you open it up and you cut, you eat. And they're not all the same, and they're not all terrific, and they're not all a great value. But when you're going and seeing what everybody has, you can grab the best. One of the things that I love to ask people, like, listen, you like strawberries. Everyone likes strawberries, right?
Sure.
When you get into that season when the strawberries aren't sweet?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, come to the Blue Goose. They're always sweet.
Okay.
Because somebody's always got sweet strawberries, and we won't buy the bad strawberries.
Okay.
And how do you do that? Well, because you have to have that kind of level of connection with the market. And most people don't. I mean, other, chains for sure, most independents, they get on the phone and they're like, listen, I need, a pallet. And whatever they get, they talk about price. They haven't tried them. And if they're acceptable, they come in. But we're down there, like, we're picking case by case what we're bringing in the store. So big difference. And, the cheap strawberries are out there, but don't buy them. Like, don't. Those strawberries are bad.
Will you forego having a product on hand if it's not, if it's not up to your quality? Like, okay, so let's continue the discussion with the strawberries. If you don't buy the strawberries, then you are not going to have any strawberries in your store. Does that happen?
Yeah, we have. It's a tough spot when that happens because we are looking for best in the market, and sometimes early peaches can get that way, where you're looking for best in the market, or you can't get stone free, but they're eating really well. And you make those decisions. How am I best going to take care of my customers? How can I get them the best product? Because if you're going to make a peach pie and you're planning on making a peach pie, I don't want to make your decision for you. But what we bring you is going to be 1,000,000 times better than what you can find, especially, as you're just getting into the season or just getting out of the season. We're not perfect. I'm not gonna try and claim perfect because, we'll have the sweetest strawberry in the market, but usually we can find the sweet ones even when it's tough. But we do the best we can, but you're right. Like asparagus, that'll happen to asparagus where you're like, there's no good asparagus in the market. Like everything was bad. There's no way that I'm going to sell you any of what I had. Like I would be ashamed of myself to let you go home with what other people are putting out there. Yeah. I mean, it does happen 100%.
But that's how you build trust, I suppose, with your customers. They know for a fact that if they want the best, they go to Blue Goose.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah. That's exactly it.
Cool. Let's back up a little bit. I want to ask you a little bit about growing up.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me one of your earliest memories about realizing what the heck was going on with Blue Goose in your family.
It's so hard to think of that because it was just regular. I'd walk into Blue Goose. I didn't know who my family was. Like, I thought they were all my family. I figured I was like, I got, 40 aunts and uncles. I have such a big family because everybody was really, really nice to me and really cool. And, I'd go to the Blue Goose and, my grandmother would grab a box of ice cream bars and just open it and give it to me. I was like, why do other people pay for that? I don't know how this works.
Did you try pulling that at some other store?
No. What other? Where else am I going?
I don't know.
And in the summer, it was still the age where, you at about 10 o'clock, you hit your bike and you were back by dinner. So for lunch, whoever I was hanging out with, we'd always run down to the Blue Goose and get popsicles and sandwiches and say hi to my dad. So it was cool. It was a really cool way to grow up. It wasn't until high school where it started, if I didn't turn something in, my dad would come home. I saw your teacher in the store. I was like, yeah, no, that didn't go right.
Not to pick on you, but that's just how kids are.
Yeah.
Like, there's this point in your life where all of a sudden there's some resentment building up.
Yeah. It's just, what you want to try and find your own path so you can make your own decisions.
Yeah.
And in St. Charles for sure. There's a lot of good supervision, but we moved to Batavia. My parents split up. So that was not super easy.
Mm-hmm.
And that I think is some of the drive behind, like, let me get out. Let me figure out which ends up. That's why we ended up moving Batavia because, St. Charles is, it's, the Lencioni family is it's a lot of places. And my mom is from Texas. And so she was like, listen, we're going to scoot a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So we moved to Batavia and that was a tremendous experience. Batavia's an amazing town. Love Batavia. I always say that I grew up with two hometowns. So just finished up there, but that was kind of, we all have our spots. Life isn't easy. The thing is you run from the things that are difficult or you embrace them and you run head on. And I feel like that's what I did. It's like, okay, you know what? Maybe things aren't what they look like. How did this happen? How did that happen? Why is this good? And, but it really helped me come full circle and fall in love with what we have here because there is a lot more stickiness here. We're definitely in it together, but with that, it also, people need to lead. People need to do what they can to help bring cool things to people. And that's not just food, that's ideas, convincing, cause we're tight out here. You have to do everything that you can to show your neighbors how much you care. You have to stick up for your neighbors. You're all in it together. You have to be somebody who can help inspire your neighbors to live bigger. Do cool things, show them how much you care. So because we're in it together, you have to have that fire. You have to generate those good feelings. And so I think as a Blue Goose, that's another one of my big responsibilities.
Mm-hmm.
Which is fun. I mean, I dig people. I'm the right guy for the job. I absolutely love people.
Right.
So, but I spend a lot of time thinking about what's the best way to do that.
Yeah. Did you work at the store when you were a kid?
Off and on. It was, that part's really hard. My nephew just went through that, because you don't know, as a kid, there are times when you need to quit your job. I wrestled varsity my sophomore year. And I worked all through my varsity season, and I was so burned out by the time the season was over. And then the weather gets really nice, and I didn't know how to quit. And my aunt brought me upstairs and said, "Do you want to be here?" I was like, "No, I don't. No, I don't." And so I was like, "Just leave. Come back when you want to."
You keep dropping jars of spaghetti sauce all over the place. Are you trying to tell us something?
No, I'm so distractible. I'm so yes, I'm an accountant, but I have a strong kind of dreamer side to me for sure,
Yeah.
which probably comes through.
Yeah, well, you're a surfer and a snowboarder, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Well, not a surfer. I never tried, but definitely a dreamer. I guess that morphs as you get older into being a little bit of a visionary. But if I lose focus, that's a thing. And now at this point in my life, it leads me to imagine cool things and great ideas. But at that point, man, it was just head in the clouds.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've been in and out, and I'd always work when I came home from going to school. Like I said, the first 2 years were in Colorado, and when I came home from Christmas, I'd work in the meat department, which is the most fun. And then at NIU, I would come and work summers, and so I was always in and out.
How did they handle you kind of floating in and out? Were they cool with it, or was there ever any kind of expectation that was placed on you?
Well, it's like family. It's like family. Yeah, sure there is, and everybody's watching, and you're kind of in it together, and there's a ton of support, and then there's some jealousy here and there, and it's just interesting. I don't know how else to say it.
You got siblings?
Yeah, I have a sister.
Okay.
And she's
involved?
She's a chef. She is. She doesn't have a management role, but she helps with within her area of expertise. It's cool. I would say that's one of the things that really has really taken off and been revitalized in the store is, right now. And it's, so I've been back for 5 years, and number one thing when I came back, the first thing you have to commit to is culture. You can find a bunch of products, but if, like I said about the cheese, if you don't understand why this is cool, you're missing it. So, right now we've got a great team, and we've always had amazing people. But when I came back, one of the things that was tough is there were a lot of people who had been there for a long time and were at the end of their career. So how do you take all of that? And especially when you've got people who, remember a lot of things that worked, and they're facing, there was no email in the Blues. I had to work so hard to stop the little tiny pieces of paper getting passed around. I was like, here's an iPad, text information back and forth. Everybody has a phone. I had to teach people how to use Excel. But there's a lot of things to help people update how they're understanding how customers, are like, what do new customers look like? What are their expectations? Because it's such a hometown store, and, just making sure that people were higher minded, instead of, protectionist. Like, we're going to do some new things, and not all of them are going to be perfect. If you're not failing a little bit, you're not trying. And having people get really comfortable with the concept of failing forward, coming back and driving, innovation into, they're like, well, no, this is the way that we do it. I'm like, we're still doing the same things, but in a totally different way. Open your mind a little bit. Mm-hmm. So I've been really, maybe I'm patting myself on the back some, but I think I've been really successful in helping people really understand that the Blue Goose is a growth environment, and what that means, and how do you cut somebody slack and still hold them really accountable, and that idea of growing together. One of the things, and I don't know, I'm going to take a risk in saying this, but one of my ideas when I have a new manager, one of the things to help them get how to manage for me and with me is I ask them, what's in this for you? I was like, don't tell me money. I mean, we all need to eat, but if there's not something personally in it for you, it's going to be really hard to really, set goals and really care about achieving them. And probably half of the managers, maybe the third, come back, they're like, well, I want to be successful. I go, you know what? That's a horrible goal. Because if what you want is for your job to make you feel successful, when it's difficult, it'll demotivate you. I'll tell, listen, the things that I care about, taking care of the community. I care about helping people reach their goals and reach the next level. This is a place where my, like care, commitment, enjoyment of other people, like I get a ton of fulfillment out of this by being great at my job. And so even when it's hard, I know it's worth it. Even when I feel like my back is against the wall and I got to figure some things out and, just lock myself in a room and say, okay, I don't know how to do this. What am I going to do? What's step one? And figure it out. It's worth it because my goal is worthy. If I just was trying to listen, I want to make this supermarket so it can be super awesome and everybody can see, it'll just be obvious, how much success we've earned because we're great. I was like, no, man. That's to me, it's such a miss. I'm not about, helping people, think that I'm awesome or see that I'm awesome. I'm just me doing me stuff. I'm, like I said, I believe don't spend time telling people how awesome you are. Spend time figuring out what's so awesome about them, and with that, and kind of, I think that's one of the things that helps me see the best in people and help them reach their goals and help, my staff and the people that come, be more, find something to light your fire. We got, you got to find something that makes it happen for you. So don't worry about proving yourself, worry about, doing something worthy, doing something that you can connect with. And my staff is really good about that and, passing those lessons on. So it keeps people engaged because they know, it goes along with other lessons, things that I say, what you do matters, poking a high school kid in his chest. What you do matters. You don't have some, small job that you can give to somebody who doesn't matter. I don't have those. You are here because I trust you and people like you and think highly of you, but you need to figure out a way to get this done. Like the entire profit of the bakery department rests on your shoulders. This is incredibly important. What you do matters. That person that's coming in, they have 60 people at their house waiting for something that they promised was going to be super cool. And you're here on that side taking care of them. What you do matters. That person is relying on you. I'm relying on you. And you're up to it. Like, you got it. Don't worry about it. Just don't, it's kind of like don't look down. You'll be fine.
Yeah, right.
But those are cool lessons to teach people.
Yeah, man. I feel like I'm getting a lesson in leadership here today. Wow. So speaking of trying to foster a growth environment, you had a period of time here over the past year where you were trying to expand Blue Goose.
Yes, absolutely.
To Batavia.
Mm-hmm.
What? Tell me a little bit about how that came along.
Well, Austin Dempsey from BEI has been a friend of mine for a long time, and we just were spitballing one day, and he's like, I got a space, it probably won't work. I go, okay. He's like, it might work. I'm like, yeah, okay. He's like, what'd you think about it? I was like, yeah, I'll think about anything. I'm pretty open-minded. And so we just kept working on the concept, and it became a real thing.
Mm-hmm. This was the space that was vacated by Walgreens.
Walgreens, absolutely, with a couple add-ons and some here's and there's. But it's the property is it's not the easiest property, but it's possible. Needed a little bit of public support with the idea that, if you make an investment like that, I'll invest, you invest, everybody invests, and it really, lights up the environment, drives traffic downtown, increases, everything from economic activity to community connection, and just trying to figure out, how to do it the right way. And it just ended up that to meet in the middle, like we could get close to the middle, but the risk profile in doing it the way that we were looking just missed. But I firmly believe I'll have a store in Batavia, just not there, not this way. But I think Batavia is incredibly lucky. No comment on former leadership in Batavia, but I got to know Laura Newman, the new city administrator, very well, and Batavia is really lucky. That is a sharp individual right there. I think very, very highly through Laura picking up kind of the second side of conversations. She earned my, respect, friendship, admiration. So I am sure with leadership like that in Batavia, I could find a way. But a lot of people are also, and there's one thing that comes up all the time. You're like, why don't you just go out to Randall Road? Because you don't need a supermarket on Randall Road.
Yeah, I think they got it covered out there.
Yeah, no, right. And there's not really great spaces, and there's a lot of problems, but it makes sense because they're like, well, there's an empty building. You want to be in Batavia? You're like, east side, west side, downtown. When I look for spots, because we are, and right now I'm continuing to talk to other municipalities, other locations, because we're definitely in a growth phase. But I want to see a connected community, an invested community, because one of the core competencies of Blue Goose is we feel like we're pretty good citizens and people who just want to help and, chuck in and, help build communities, connect people. So if your strength is how much you care, you got to be in places where people also care. So, and that's one of the things that I love about Batavia is it's a great community with really, really good people. Just there's no easy way to do it right now.
Yeah. So what was the, was it the lack of parking at that
No.
downtown Wilson?
No, there was,
location,
I had a pretty good solution for that. One of the things that people don't realize is in that parking, a third of the automobiles generated are usually employees. So I had talked to Austin. We were looking for some offsite employee stuff, which would have freed a ton of that up. No, it was just the amount of work that reconfiguring the site.
Transform it.
Yeah, because it's it's the spot we needed to add here and there, and I was already going to take a weird shape and the rest of it. But because it's built that way and it's still... it's just tough to reinvest, and anytime you get into a development situation like that, there's such a partnership between the city and the development because you're hopefully making 50 to 75 year spaces. So by that, I sat on the St. Charles Plan Commission for 7 years. I was the vice chair for probably 4 of those. So building and development are something that, I dig and I've gotten into. But anytime you talk to a developer, you're like, okay, are you building a 10-year building? Is it very narrowly purposed? Because at that point, all of a sudden it's not functional. You're going to not ever be able to re-rent it as the owner or, find its second use or third use. And then the city's stuck with, a spot that should be producing lifestyle and, property tax and, all of the other things. But when you get into the spot where all of a sudden the owner can't, it's not functional to the owner, it's not functioning in society. And that's kind of what happened. It's just an older building. It's going to need a lot of TLC. So it's going to need a lot of TLC.
Yeah.
And so it was just too much of a stretch. The building is dated.
It seemed like the logistics were going to be tough to work out as well, as far as like all the trucks and stuff. Like
we could have that could have been.
You would have figured that out.
Oh yeah, no, that goes back into the experience. Like I'm pretty creative. I got some things.
Well, all right. Let's ask about a cool personal thing. You had the opportunity to participate in a parade recently.
Yeah.
You were the Grand Marshal?
Yes.
In St. Charles?
Well, the Lencioni family and Blue Goose. But yeah, I guess I'm the figurehead there.
You were the guy.
Yeah.
Waving to the people.
Yeah, that was cool. It's a lot of fun. That stuff, and if people who know me, sometimes they don't realize this, or I don't actually love attention that much. I don't mind being in front of people. I love stuff like this, but I'm not a look at me guy.
Yeah.
I spend a lot of time telling people like, listen, man, I just care. I'm not special. Like I don't need to be special. Nobody needs to think that I'm special, but because of what I do, sometimes stuff comes along. And the coolest thing about being the Grand Marshal is some people that I'd worked with at a PTO fundraiser and had gotten to be good friends with. I invited all of them to take their kids on the float with us. So, I had a lot of good friends up there and a lot of employees, and that's what makes it fun. Being able to share some experiences that come my way that are a little unique, share them with really good people. That's what I love. But being the Grand Marshal, I would have been really happy strapping a grill on the back of a flatbed and passing out. I was
Just
really
tossing
disappointed.
hamburgers at people.
Oh yeah, no, I love that. Oh, that's so great. So when we do that, like I just run to the crowd. I'm like, who's my friend? Where are my friends at? Because you have to give them away to your friends. And all of a sudden, I see a lot of friends, and it's cool. I mean, I love that stuff. So sometimes just sitting on the float and waving, I don't know if it's cool, and I'm honored. I'm super honored. I sound like such a jerk when I say stuff like that.
At any point, let me ask you this. At any point, did you ever have like any kind of flashback to yourself as a kid in St. Charles attending a parade, waving at the people?
Man, it's just, I would have never assumed. It's hard
because now that's you. You're the guy.
Yeah.
Did you look out there when you were on the float, seeing any young Paul Lencionis out there?
Yeah, I see a lot of great people when I look out there.
Because you're the one who's in the position to start inspiring the next generation.
Yeah.
Right?
I don't know. I like the one-on-one stuff. I'll tell you something even cooler than that I got a chance to do is Lincoln Elementary School asked me to come in, and they had on Dr. Seuss, his birthday, it's like it's National Reading Day. And so I got to go into a classroom and I read. So one of my skills, one of my little skills, my little picadillo talents, I am one of the fastest readers of One Fish, Two Fish on earth. So I did my crazy speed reading One Fish, Two Fish to a bunch of kids. And that was cool. That I loved. And I got a chance to connect with them because they're like, hey, this is one of our community leaders. Can you guess? And, I was like, okay, they're like, what's a clue? I was like, well, where do you love to get donuts from? And I was like, they're all like, Dunkin' Donuts. I was like, no, oh my gosh, what? Don't do that. Don't eat those. But I got to connect back and forth.
You turned this into a commercial?
Well, I don't know.
For the kids?
Man. It's just life, man. It's just so much a part of everything that I do. Like there's no separation. Plus, I'm bad with boundaries anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, literally, I sleep on my couch at work, but through doing that, I've seen some of those kids around and they're like, I love that. That was so cool. And, what's your name? Oh my gosh, I'm glad that you like that. And then you get a chance to because they put you on this pedestal as the owner of the Blue Goose, which to me, I'm just doing my thing. But it's really cool with a kid to take yourself off the pedestal. You're like, don't worry about that. Like I'm just a guy and I really appreciate you. And when you can come down to a kid and be like, no, that's cool. I love what you're doing. And they're like, but I'm not doing anything special. I'm like, well, sometimes I'm like, well, I'm just doing my thing. That's just how it goes, buddy. So just keep at it, and those are the moments that I get off. Those are the ones that I dig so much.
Yeah.
I like the one-on-one,
Well, it sounds like your heart's in the right place. And like you said earlier, if it smells good.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there's plenty of good smells going on at Blue Goose, right? Give us a parting thought. What can we expect in over the next short period of time here? Maybe the next year. Anything you want to tip a hand?
Sure. We very quickly before summer we'll have e-commerce. So you will be able to get delivery and pickup from the Blue Goose. Incredibly reasonable. A lot of the services that are coming out, it's like the shiny thing out there. There's another service that was just bought by Target that rolled out at Meijer. But everything that you buy through those, they're putting a load on it. So not only do you pay for it, but you're also paying higher prices because you're not just paying for all the structure around one company. Now you're paying for all the structure around two companies. So I don't want to do that. I'm like, we'll do it ourselves. It's going to be $5 for delivery, $5 to have somebody shop so you can pick it up. Another very cool thing, you will be able to order all of your deli meat like 20 minutes ahead of time and just pick it up. So no more deli lines. That was the first thing that I was like, oh, I got to do that. I mean, what's worse than waiting in a deli line?
Yeah.
So that's coming out.
That's huge.
We're taking a look at doing a point system with a company that I met at through a friend who owns the delivery service. One of my best new friends. He lives in upstate New York, but he keeps on showing up. This guy who owns a humongous IT company. He goes around setting stores up. His name Brian Moyer. Love you, Brian. So he's got this huge RV that he just like every once in a while, once every 4 months, he's like, "Where you at?" I'm like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, yeah, we're right around here. And then he'll park the RV in my parking lot and we'll hang out for a night and he'll tell me about all the cool stuff and we'll kibitz and he'll, and we'll just, is just do some grocery thinking. So he's Brian Moyer and Fresh Up Company is the one helping me put together the online, but he introduced me to a guy who the owner and developer of this company, he built Messenger, Facebook Messenger. He built that.
Okay.
And then he built the Follow Me software that is, when you like look at a soccer website and you get soccer shoes, that go into your like feed on the sidebar. He built all of that stuff. And now he built this really cool customer loyalty program. And you're like, why, the guy's worth, 10, 11 figures, but he's still doing it. He's, actually a really cool, smart guy. He's crazy smart. So we're working on something with those guys. So that'll be a really cool loyalty program. Got an executive chef in that's just doing some cool stuff. So, I mean, just keep pushing it, more good. What's better than good? More good. So, but yeah, look for delivery and pickup and all kinds of new cool stuff from coming from Blue Goose.
That's great. I want to thank you very much for coming in and chatting. And I am looking forward to some bratwurst and some wine.
I screwed up. The coolest thing is the cookouts are starting.
Cookouts.
Our Friday and Saturday cookouts from 11 to 2 start Memorial Day or any Friday or Saturday that your iPhone says it's going to be over 55 and not raining. So the coolest new thing coming up is the cookouts are starting again.
Bratwurst.
Have you ever been by the cookouts? Steak sandwiches, bratwurst, hot dogs. You haven't. I can see it in your eyes. I mean, you got to come by some Saturday.
I'm going to.
It's so much fun on a day that's just pouring sunshine, sitting out in front of the Blue Goose with all of the picnic tables out there, just hanging out with the community, having a killer steak sandwich. You got to get the steak sandwich, a little bit of the horseradish cream sauce. Man, it's literally, it's beautiful. It's brilliant. So that's coming up too. So yeah.
All right.
You got to be there.
I'll be there. So that was it. I hope you enjoyed my conversation with Paul Lencioni from Blue Goose Market in St. Charles. Hopefully you could sense the passion and just his feeling of accountability with the community and the people that he's trying to lift up around him at all times. So get yourself to Blue Goose. Just here this past month, they opened up a new beer and wine bar so you can enjoy a little beverage while you're doing your shopping. Get some of that wine and cheese that he was talking about. And tell many, many friends about Blue Goose. I know that I will do my best to get up there on a semi-regular basis and treat myself to some of their fine quality products. And I know that this episode was a long time coming, but hopefully by releasing it now, we could do some help to promote Blue Goose and get some more folks in there. So go say hi to Paul and the rest of the crew at Blue Goose in downtown St. Charles, and keep an eye open hopefully for some more episodes coming from yours truly. My name's Jaime Gutierrez, and this is the Fox Valley Voice.
Fox Valley Voice.